We've made a bad mistake in the past two elections. We can't afford to make that mistake again on national security.
Ambassador, your reaction to the news out this morning that President Obama has reversed himself and says we are going to keep troops in Afghanistan?
Well, I think this is a concession to reality. It's a little bit late coming because I think Taliban and al-Qaeda have already regained substantial initiative against the Afghan government. It was a tragedy for the president to fritter away so much of what we had wanted such a high cost over the years. I think what this does, though, by keeping the prospect of forces in Afghanistan after he leaves office, that a new president could refashion a strategy to protect Americans from terrorist attacks emanating from Afghanistan. I just hope that the decision doesn't draw down forces so much that it leaves those remaining in peril. But from the range of decisions that I expected, this is a welcome development.
We do have people running for president right now. Let's put yourself in the moderating position. If you were asking candidates on the Republican stage and the Democratic stage questions about national security, what's the most important question that every candidate ought to be asked?
Well, I think we need to hear from everybody running what they see as America's proper place in the world. You know, we can have endless discussions about what do we do about Syria, what do we do about the South China Sea, what do we do about Ukraine, all of which are important. But fundamentally, we need to hear what they think America's role should be to protect our freedom and our way of life here at home. What threats do they see? How do we respond to the threats? What is that going to require in hard budget terms? Honestly, I don't think the debates have provided that. I'm not a fan of these debates. I think we need longer exchanges between the candidates, not prepared speeches, not talking points. We need to hear how they think about it. We've made a bad mistake in the past two elections. We can't afford to make that mistake again on national security.
When you look at what President Obama is leaving the next president, whether it's a Republican or Democrat, what do you think is the biggest crisis from a national security perspective he's leaving?
Well, I think it's the threat of the proliferation of weapons of mass destruction, particularly nuclear weapons. I think the Iran deal not only legitimizes Iran's path to nuclear weapons, it protects the North Korean program, it encourages proliferation elsewhere in the region, and it says to proliferators worldwide, if you have enough patience, you too can have nuclear weapons. The threat that these weapons could be fall into the hands of terrorists and then be used against us, we shouldn't forget 9/11, and we should remember that 9/11 could have been a lot worse had the terrorist had chemical or biological or even worse nuclear weapons.
One of the breakouts we've had just this week is the whole what's happened in Israel and the breakout of more terrorism there. Do you think this is a reaction to the growing instability in the Middle East? Do you think there's a reason it's happening now?
I think there's very definitely a feeling across the Middle East that structures that have existed for a long time are collapsing. States are disappearing. Iraq, I think, no longer exists as a state. And I think many in the Palestinian community, having watched what Barack Obama did to Israel by signing the nuclear deal with Iran, have concluded that now is the opportunity to press for a Palestinian state, and that Obama may intend by the end of his term to recognize a Palestinian state. And certainly the first reaction by the administration to blame the Israelis, in effect, in their settlement activity for the outbreak of Palestinian terrorism shows that the Palestinians are not far off the mark. So I think Israel's in a very dangerous position for the next 15 months, not just from the Iranian nuclear program, but from the Palestinians as well.